Hello everyone, in this video you're going to be exposed to some secret information about me that maybe I've never really, I guess, I've not really made a video about it, maybe, but it's about my eating habits, and I don't know if some of these habits are what have led me towards changing my diet and towards being raw vegan. I'm not sure exactly, but Aubrey, certainly having spent some time with me, doesn't like a lot of my habits, and has tried to encourage me to kind of stop some of these habits. So basically, if I was to start off talking about myself, like I've definitely got a bit of a binge eating thing, a little bit, and I've got a bit of a compulsive thing with food, but it can be quite uh, emotional, I guess, at times as well. And I think everyone does have, to some degree. I think some of these things are fairly natural, like, and part of the fact that so many foods now are addictive and whatever else. And I think that's why I decided to quit a lot of foods 100%, because I just didn't have control over the way I was eating them and stuff. So, anyway, what's your observations about how I eat, or what, and like when you met me and stuff, and
Uh, well, obviously the tomatoes.
okay,
That's the first obvious one that you've mentioned before.
yeah.
But it wasn't just tomatoes. It was specifically like the grape tomatoes
Yeah.
and iceberg lettuce together. And you would eat them in a very particular way.
But for like a lot of people out there watching, they would say, well, tomatoes and lettuce, that's pretty healthy. That's basically a salad. So what's your problem with that?
It's not, and I've said this multiple times, that it's not about the food, it's the way that you eat the food. So it would be like taking a half of a bite really loudly and like super, right? So like making a lot of noise, eating half of the tomato, then going into your, container of lettuce and pulling some pieces out. And then eating the other half of the tomato with the lettuce. But you wouldn't eat the lettuce with the tomato when you first took the bite, only after you took the first bite. Right? So then, like...
And then you tried to get me to eat it with like the other hand, or put the tomato whole into my mouth and stuff like that.
Like without the lettuce and everything, and like your entire body was just like, no.
Yeah, I was so rooted in that habit.
So how long has it been since you had tomatoes in that time?
I was off them for at least a month, but I have went back. I have had some in the last few days.
So he's had some, but then he's completely not like gotten the point of taking the break from them to like create a new relationship with them. He's just doing the same thing. And that's not that's not the reason.
It's weird. It's like they're not as enjoyable in any other form. Like when we made that salad yesterday and there was chopped up tomatoes, like I didn't really feel anything for those tomatoes. It's only when I eat them that exact specific way that I like doing it.
That's just funny because when they're in my salad, it's like my favorite part of the salad.
Yeah, right.
Because it's like the sweet, But
yesterday I was doing or a couple of days I was doing something funny. I was drinking juice from a bottle. And you actually filmed me on camera.
So we were in bed, right? And he had this like bottle of orange juice, and he was just like watching some stupid video on YouTube that is nothing. Probably some sports commentary of a sport he doesn't even watch. So that's another habit. But so he's just sitting there and he goes like this, and he'll put it down, and then he'll just go back. And he's like not getting any liquid in his mouth like whatsoever. It's just like that really loud. And I'm just like, really? Okay. Like if you're thirsty, drink it, but you're not even drinking it. It was quite funny to watch thirst.
When you showed me that video. It was quite funny because it was like just like
and that video was like 3 frames long on Instagram, and I believe those are at least like 15 seconds. So that was funny. Almost an entire minute of you literally doing that.
So I've got some kind of weird compulsive thing, or I don't even know what it is. I form these weird habits.
It's like an oral fixation.
Maybe, yeah. And so
It's like with people who smoke cigarettes, you know, it's really no different.
yeah, which is probably why I never smoked cigarettes or anything like that, because I probably knew I had a little bit of that nature. I don't know if everyone does a little bit. Maybe some people don't, but
Well, I know that when I was young, like, I would have specific ways I like to eat things. Like, when I was eating white bread, I would peel the crust off, and then I would eat the crust first, and then we talked about this, like,
Yeah.
roll the bread into, like, a little ball, and then, like, slowly eat off of that.
I would do that when I was
Because that's
younger.
it's not about eating when you're hungry. That's just, like, eating because you enjoy the act of what you're doing with the food.
Well, I think you are hungry as well. Like,
Well, I mean, it's part of that, but, like, it's more of you playing with your food.
yeah. So in a more serious way. So let's say that we have got food, and you want us to eat together and eat the same things a lot of the time, and I'm kind of I don't mind that. Like, I'm happy to eat something different, and I get this really excitable, impatient thing with food, and I eat pretty fast, and I like to try and make it as fast as possible, eat it as fast as possible, like, and as soon as anything's getting in the way of that, I start to get irritated, and you kind of like to take some time to
It's not even, like,
present the food.
irritated. You get, like, pissed. Like, you were so angry at your mom's house the other day. I had to tell him to leave because I was trying to make food, and he was just, like, saying how much he hated this and hated that and all of this and how angry he was, and I was just like, go away. We don't need this energy in our food right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting
Even last night, okay, so I made this dressing, and we had some left over, and so I, like, cut into slices this avocado, and, like, I dipped each one into the dressing, and then I put them in the dehydrator, and then I went to yoga, and so when I got back, we were able to, like, eat them, and I ended up, like, he was like, all right, well, let's bring it into the living room, but I'm like, well, I decided to take them off of the dehydrator tray and put them on a plate. And so then he was like, as soon as I got it plated, he was like, all right, let's go. And I'm like, stop. And I took the dehydrator tray and started to, like, rinse it off because it's, like,
yeah.
super dirty. It needs to be cleaned.
That's one of my pet peeves in life is, like, people that when you make food or whatever, they demand that you clean everything up before you eat it. There's no fun in that. Like,
No, but
it's
then
it's frustrating to me.
it's
Like,
done,
yeah.
and you don't have to deal with doing it later. And
I know it's
especially, like,
it's the sensible thing to do and all
it's
that.
also just because we're barely taking time to prepare the food that we make anyway as fruitarian raw vegans. Like, it really does not take time. You know, people will sit there and cook something in their oven for, like, 3 hours, and we take, like, maybe 15 minutes at the most, if that. And then just to take the next, like, 5 minutes to, and with raw food, you really don't even have to wash things. It's usually just, like, a nice rinse with some warm water.
Yeah.
But then it's, like, all of the food scraps that you have to do things with. And I told Ronnie also this yesterday, that as I find his food scraps that he leaves in random places out, I'm gonna start, like, putting them in his pillowcase or something. Because yesterday I opened the cupboard and there's just, like, the remains of a lettuce head just in the cupboard, and I'm like,
But
no one's gonna eat that.
no, I don't.
And that's not where it belongs.
But maybe we will eat that. That's the thing. Like, maybe we will use that.
But
so.
it was, like, this big.
Okay.
Like, literally the very butt of the lettuce that no one
Yeah.
eats, that everyone cuts off. And you
So,
just, like...
I mean, this kind of stuff goes back for me quite a long time. Like, when I was a kid, we weren't allowed to eat certain things. We were kind of restricted in sweets and things because my brother was diabetic, and but I would still go in and, like, if we had something. I remember times where I would go in, and I was meant to ask, but I didn't ask. I went in and just took, like, ice lollies or something, and ate the whole packet. And I remember going to my friends. I've got a couple of friends who, if they mention me to their mum, they say, "Oh, is that the boy that used to come and eat all the food?" You know, and I was never fat or anything. Like, I was never, like, overweight. I was just, like, I guess I was quite active, but I was quite like that with food, and I was always, like, impatient. And when I went to a restaurant with people, I hated it when people would be looking through the menu, and I've used the word hate again,
Yeah,
which you
you
don't
use
like.
that a lot.
But I really didn't like it when people looked through the menu and then the waiter came over, are you ready? And I'm like ready from the get go. Like I've not even looked through the whole menu. I've just found something and I'm like ready to eat. Come on, come on, come on, let's go. That's the way I was feeling. And everyone else is like, oh, let me take some time. I'll look through it again. And inside I'm dying. Inside I'm like totally can't deal with it. And then eventually the food comes and I'm relaxed. But it's just like an anxiousness and a nervousness and
Well, it's literally like
it's quite a strong
you act
emotional
like
thing.
you've never eaten before and that you'll never eat again.
Yeah.
So like you need to get to that food and you just like inhale it. You don't even taste it.
Yeah, and it's like all kind of polite behavior goes out the window. Like if you go to a place and there's a buffet, like a wedding, and then the buffet goes out, the buffet's sitting there, and everyone's just sitting down, and no one's doing anything about it for a few minutes, and then they have to like encourage people, come on, come up to the buffet, it's time to eat. Whereas I was like the first person up to the buffet, and I just didn't understand it. Why are people sitting around waiting? The food is here. Why are we like trying to pretend that we don't want to eat or whatever? So I didn't like. So I don't like. I've never wanted to like wait around and make sure everyone. And then that thing of like wait until everyone else is ready to eat. Like all of these things are kind of
Well,
frustrating.
this is something that I think I observe about you with it is that you've been kind of like on your own for so long that you didn't have to like take into consideration other people's feelings, even though you were in some social settings where it would be polite. Like just for example, being at his parents' house the other night, his mom prepared this big dinner for everybody and she wanted us to, put something together so that we could eat and sit with everyone. And you were so impatient that you were the one putting all the plates out and like helping your mom plate the food so that you could pretty much like throw it down on the table in front of them and force people to start eating so you could start eating. But it wasn't about the food that everyone came together around that table. It was to be able to spend time with each other. Like, yes, you're eating dinner or whatever, but
I know it's not.
it's because you're spending time with your family. Like, all three of his brothers were there with their wives and girlfriends and their kids and his parents and me. And it was just, like, such an ordeal for you.
There was a lot more into that as well of, like, the...
Well, you're also angry because they're eating meat and stuff.
No, but... No, yeah, a little bit, but, like, I'm used to that. But it's more like that's kind of family stuff as well. And, like, a little bit of uncomfortableness being around my family sometimes, and there's just a general awkwardness there, I guess, and then the feeling of like, oh, how about you make something so you can sit down and eat, whereas I don't usually sit down and eat at a table and make a meal and stuff, like, so I'm trying to fit in with someone else's idea of what I should eat or something, whereas I just want to eat grapes or...
Well, you could have just had grapes.
Yeah.
It was also your idea. You offered to make some sort of like guacamole,
Yeah,
and then you got pissed about it.
It was a bad... Well, that was the thing, because I made this guacamole and then Aubrey came in and immediately she was like, why did you put peppers in that? And I'm like, isn't that what you do? I don't know.
But it was like you were mad about trying to do it after you...
Yeah, I was actually...
You volunteered to do it.
Yeah, I was a little bit mad at that. I was a bit mad at you for not liking it.
Well, but it's not my fault that you put 4 bell peppers in guacamole. Oh, but what's another habit? Oh, sometimes he gets so, like, not present when you eat that you just chew with your mouth open really loudly. And it's, first of all, like, it's so loud and it's not really pleasant. And then you do it, like, when you're in public, too, and it's just like, you don't even know that you're doing it.
Yeah, I guess I don't even know I'm doing it.
And that's also another indicator to me that you're not tasting the food. Because you just...
I don't know, yeah, but like...
I feel like you can't taste it when
all
your
of
mouth
these
is
things
open.
are like, when people say you need to chew your food, you need to be mindful of your food. I'm like, yeah, you should be mindful of your food if you're eating a bad diet, or if you should be like chewing your food if you're eating food that is not particularly digestible. But with fruit, it's different.
That's not
and
true.
I've heard people, like for example, the UK FRUTFEST, there was a couple of days where the food went out and people were like rushing up to get the food, and some melons would go out and they'd go up and get the melons, and it was because there wasn't enough melons going out or they weren't going out quick enough. But the chef was saying to me, "Oh, you need to tell people to be more mindful when they eat," and I was like, "No, I don't. They're not. It's nothing to do with mindfulness. It's about you put out enough food so that people have enough food to eat, so that they're not feeling like they have to go up and rush and get it before it all goes."
But that's the thing about
So
you is you always have enough food always, and you always have access to food because we live across the street from a grocery store, and you always have access to food, and you're never mindful because you act like you're never
I
having it
don't.
again, and you've never had it.
I don't feel like I need to be mindful because I've already been super.
Mindfulness is just a practice that's good to instill in your life in every area of it, and eating is just one of them. It's not just eating.
I know, but I've been like the fact that I'm a raw vegan means I've been pretty mindful about what I've eaten and how I feel in my body and all that stuff. So I really feel like raw vegan is the end point of diet. Like this is the end, or fruitarian maybe if you want to say that. That like there's no further way of me improving this diet. Like if I intermittent fast, is it really going to make a big difference? If I do perfect food combining, is it really going to make a big difference? If I make sure all my food's 100% organic and washed properly and local and all that, is it going to make the biggest difference? I don't think so. I think things that will make a big difference to me now are more to do with other aspects of lifestyle, getting out in nature, being under the sun, keeping on working on things that I enjoy, keeping on making good friendships and relationships. So that's what I want to focus on more than can I keep on refining the diet to some level of perfection, because I don't think that's where I'm going to get more joy and impact out of my life. That's my argument. And I felt so much better meeting you and being with you than any kind of change to my diet would have made. But because our like meeting you and our relationship has made me feel obviously a whole lot better and all that stuff. So
Well, I will say that last night after I plated the avocado and you were trying to rush off, you did come back and say that I was more important and you gave me a hug. So.
Yeah, so it's really the first time like Aubrey like challenges me quite a lot and quite strongly challenges me and like basically when we were in the US in particular, but even here, you were basically telling me not to do certain things. You're like, no, you're not buying that. Don't do that. Don't eat like that. Don't. So it did make me think, and she was pretty much right about a lot of things, but it's a challenge for me to kind of deal with that a little bit. So
Well, and it's different.
but I'm still making
it's different for you to have someone that cares about what you're doing with your body.
But the thing about the tomatoes, it is definitely better for me to cut them out. And even though I had some this morning, and I might
It's
have
also
some.
not a good way to break
Yeah.
tomatoes. Well,
Well,
Melissa
anyway.
and Nate would probably say otherwise.
Yeah,
Salad for
salad
breakfast.
breakfast. Okay, so we've got like a minute left in this video because my phone's going to run out. So I just want to say that we met at a fruit festival, and the UK Fruit Festival is going to be. The early registration is happening now. So go to fruitfest.co.uk/registration to start that process, learn more information, find out how you can come and be part of this community, and you'll probably be there.
I will definitely be there.
What are you going to do? Help out and do some
A little bit of
workshops and
everything.
stuff?
Yeah.
Offer some healing and massage and things like that?
Body work and energy work.
Yeah.
Maybe like circling and
Well, yeah, you can do the circle, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Intentional practices, mindfulness.
Yeah. So right now is the best time, the earliest prices, and just till the 18th of October, we're going to make that open because we had technically some early registration in September for people that had been before and everything, but we extended that a little further for everyone. So fruitfest.co.uk/registration. Hope to see you there. Thank you for supporting the channel. Feel free to like and share and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.